Hello and welcome back to Read the Book First. This week, my friend Amanda returns to talk about William Goldman's The Princess Bride, an abridged book by S. Morgenstern, allegedly. This is a fun episode, y'all, and I am so excited to reread this book. We will be watching The Princess Bride movie for next week's episode, so make sure you stay caught up. And if you want to know ahead of time of what we're going to be reading and watching, go to our Instagram at Read the Book First Podcast. That's where all the updates are. And you can also recommend any books via DMing me on Instagram or commenting on our pictures. We'd love to chat with y'all on the Instagram. Thank you for those that have subscribed and rated the 5 stars. Please do so if you have not. It helps us out greatly. And I hope you enjoy the episode. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Janessa.
Welcome back. Our first recurring guest. Congratulations. I should have made you a hat. Today we're going to be talking about The Princess Bride, S. Morgenstern's classic tale of true love and high adventure, written by William Goldman.
Don't you mean abridged by William Goldman?
Sorry. Abridged by William Goldman, supposedly. I forget, have you read this before?
Yes, I read it in high school when we were talking about, like, plot and archetypes.
Oh, fun. I also read it in high school. I took one of the English classes for a semester was fairy tale, and so we read this as like the modern fairy tale and how my teacher said some things about it that I don't really agree with now as I reread it. But I guess it's interesting because I had, of course, seen the movie dozens of times before I ever read it in high school. And so when I read it in high school, I think I just kind of didn't read it in high school. But I do remember 2 bits from when I did read it in high school. So rereading it, I realized I skipped so much of it for whatever assignment I had to do. Like, I barely read it for high school.
Classic Janessa.
Truly. I read a lot, but the school books I barely read. And I didn't do the like Wikipedia thing because it was unreliable back in the early 2000s and it wasn't full. And so I just would only read parts of chapters.
Didn't you have Spark Notes?
Yeah, but like I didn't never use them.
Oh, see, I would read the book and then look at Spark Notes.
I mean, I do that now as an adult. I did that during my English degree. It helped. But
the only thing I really remember about it, I mean, I read it, and I read it well, and we read it and watched the movie. And like I said, we're doing an archetype, so we all had to, like, pick an archetype to cover. So I got to cover Count Rugen and what archetype he was. We picked, like, the Shadow or something, where we were like, yeah, he's, like, real messed up. And
yeah.
Because that's all we got.
Yeah.
I was like, you couldn't have given me something easy.
That is interesting archetype to choose. I was like...
And that may not be what it was.
Yeah. Who knows?
I could tell you word for word a big plot summary of this. What I picked for the archetype in high school.
Yeah.
That's a little beyond my scope.
Yeah. For those that have not seen the movie somehow, or have read the book, here is a brief summary. And I'm quoting the fictionalized William Goldman's fictional dad. This book is about fencing, fighting, torture, poison, true love, hate, revenge, giants, hunters, bad men, good men, beautiful ladies, snakes, spiders, beasts of all nature and descriptions, pain, death, brave men, coward men, strongest men, chases, escapes, lies, truths, passions, miracles. And honestly, that's a pretty good summation of the book.
It is a pretty good summation.
Yes.
The only thing I'd quibble with is I don't know if it's really about hate.
There is a lot of hate in this book.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm wrong.
There's a lot of hate. But anyways, so that's what this book is about. And we can just go through it bit by bit. I say we just go through it like chapter chunk by chapter chunk. Because I like this book it's not that long. It's like actually like 320-ish plus pages. It's not that long. It goes fast.
Yeah.
And the chunks are nice.
Yeah.
I like the chunkage.
Yeah. Like, that's what I was about to say is, like, it does not feel like 300 pages. Mm-mm. It really doesn't. You know, it does feel like 30 plus pages.
The intros?
The intros.
Suck. Okay. So the first thing I wrote down in my notes is just meta-narrative. I forgot how meta-narrative this book is. So William Goldman is a real person. Mm-hmm. He is writing as if he's abridging a book. But before he gets to the abridging of it, he gives like this crazy backstories and extra information about his life that most of it is not true.
So, okay, so did your version start with like the 10-page intro
There's
about
there's a 30th anniversary intro.
Yes.
And then there's the 25th anniversary intro, and then there's the normal intro.
Yeah.
So we have 3 intros before we even meet a single character.
And I've read the 30th anniversary intro. I did read the 25th one, but that was in high school, so God bless me. I have no idea what it was.
Yeah, the 30th intro essentially is
that's the
it's
one
talking about him and his grandson going to the museum in Florin, the fake country this is about.
Yeah, that made me mad.
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. Because the timeline is so wonky with these intros, we ought to just get all the intros out and then go to the book, or do the book then the intros?
I think we should do the intros and then the book.
So, yeah. So the timeline is wonky. So it starts with the 30th anniversary publishing intro. When I started reading this, I remembered, because I think my class had the same copy or the same edition, because I remember this cover. And I remember the induced panic of, wait, am I reading the right book? Because it's talking about him traveling to a country that does not exist. But like when I was in high school, I didn't know. I was a dummy. Like Florin, yeah, it could be a country.
I mean,
Who
I
knows?
knew it didn't exist.
Okay, you also took the SATs when you were in middle school. I did not.
Okay, well,
So I just like suddenly panicked again. I was like, wait, is this the right book? Is this the right edition? I remember just like panicking like me 4 days ago, being like, of course it's the right book, you dummy. You went to the bookstore, you looked it up yourself. You know this is there. William Goldman, the author, the abridger. So the abridger is fictional. The author is a real person. So he's talking about how him and his grandson Willie, who's named after him, are going to Florin to the museum to look up and get the Buttercup's baby's journal. So Buttercup's Baby is the sequel to this book, supposedly, which is at the end of this book, which is why this is like a weird timeline. But this is at the beginning. It's confusing, and in a way that I actually kind of like.
Okay.
It's boring to read. The intro is boring to read, but I like that he just makes it messy. I like the messiness existing. I don't want to go through the messiness.
I don't like it because I'm just sitting there and I know for a fact that Florin's not a real country. I know Gilder's not a real country. I know that none of these things exist. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, why are you writing about it like it exists? Yeah. I find that very confusing.
Yeah. And so they go there and they get to the museum and he's like, hey, Stephen King should have written a letter to y'all letting you guys know that I'm coming. And the people there are like, this whole saga where they're like, no, he didn't write this. And so it's also because Stephen King later on fictionally is writing Buttercup's Baby, the sequel. But in the real world, like outside of this meta narrative, Stephen King and William Goldman work together on a movie script. So like they are friends in real life, which is why he just decides to take Stephen King on this weird fake adventure that does not exist.
Technically, it's not that they were like, he didn't write the letter. It was like the letter didn't get there because the Florin whatever mail system doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like so complicated and so goofy and just like a big old hoax that I really enjoyed. Because at the end, I forgot what page, but I wrote down the quote. Essentially, he writes, how much of the truth can be manipulated into art? Because he finds out that S. Morgenstern, who does not exist, but in this intro does exist, is debating in the sequel of whether or not he should, when he's writing the book, whether or not he should change history to kill Inigo before the revenge happens. And so S. Morgenstern finds that quote of like, or writes that quote of like how much of the truth can be or should be manipulated for art's sake. And when fictional abridger William Goldman finds that quote, he's suddenly so like finally like at peace with himself of what he's done to this book, because before then you find out in later intros that he's very upset with like how the abridgment went. It's so confusing, but I like it.
I will take your word for it because I gotta admit that my eyes started going, woo.
Yeah. So that's essentially the messy 30th intro. Then we get to the 25th intro, which is half true and half not true because it talks about a lot of the background of the movie.
Oh, wait, no, I did have that one. I read that.
Yeah, and that's like not all fake because also they wrote it after the actor who plays Fezzik, Andre the Giant, had died. So like it's a lot more like nostalgic and actually has real stories of the actors from the movie. So parts of it are true. So this one is like less interesting to me but also it's more real,
Yeah.
which is interesting. But that's the 2 like special edition intros. Then we get to the actual book intro, which I love.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have nothing bad to say about the actual book intro. I love the little
it's good.
The little I tried to make him read it and he couldn't get through it and I didn't understand why. And then I actually sat down and read it and I was like, oh,
and
that's
it's a great
why.
way to introduce it. So exactly what Amanda said. The abridger, is like going through his life and he's telling this fake tale about like some hottie at a hotel is like hitting on him, and his like wife, who is not actually his wife in real life. Yeah, his wife is not the wife in there. He does not have a son. He does not have a wife in real life.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He has a wife, or he did have a wife, different name, different, like she wasn't a psychiatrist or a shrink or whatever he called her, and he has 2 daughters. And he did these stories. The story itself. I should have said that to the end, but she was just so shocked. I have to keep telling her. So the reason why he started writing the Princess Bride, is that his daughters wanted bedtime stories about princesses and quote other brides because of some like game or story they had heard of. So that's why he started talking about the Buttercup, and that's why Humperdinck's name is so silly. It's because he originally was writing this for his children, and then he loved it so much that he ended up making it this huge weird thing. Yeah.
Wait. Helen's not real?
Helen's not real. His son?
Not real?
Not real.
His grandson, Willie?
His grandson, Willie? Not real.
I got a real stupid question. Is this the guy that wrote Lord of the Flies?
I don't think so. He wrote the screenplay of the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah. That I knew because
he's a real...
Yeah, I know he's a real writer. But
no, he's not the Lord of the Flies guy. I've never read that book.
You wouldn't like it.
No, I would not. That's why I've not read it. That's William Golding, not Goldman.
Oh, that would be why.
Mm-hmm.
In all fairness, I thought Ryan Reynolds and Ryan Gosling were the same person.
Until, like...
a week ago.
So...
If they got the same first name, they're the same person.
Interesting. Amanda, a very generic name.
I only knew 2 Amandas growing up.
Only 2?
Yeah.
We had like 4 in my school.
Yeah, that's rough.
I was an Amanda, so I didn't care. So William Golding, the abridger, is his fictionalized version of himself. All of the family members that he talks about in his little asides do not exist.
I guess that makes sense because there's no way his dad was Florinese.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. So the intro to the book, the first line of the actual book, I'm not counting the 30th and the 25th intros as part of the book because that's boring. The first line of this book, I love. It says, "This is my favorite book in the world, though I have never read it." And I love that. It's just like, what the fuck? Of course you have to have read it, but no, I love it. So fictionalized, abridged William Goldman hated reading and had no interest into it until he was 10 and he got pneumonia, and it was back in the day when pneumonia could actually like
kill you.
So he was like bedridden for weeks. So his dad, who in this world, his fictional dad, who was an immigrant from Florin, the country,
which again doesn't exist.
Does not exist. Decided to read The Princess Bride to him. And young Billy / Will / whatever he went by fell in love with the story. So much so, and it talks about it in the book, that he goes back to school and tells his teacher that he loves reading, and he like reads every single book that she like hands to him, and it's like a sweet little bit. But then I fast forward to when he's like a successful screenwriter and he's like dealing with like Hollywood and like business and is kind of like low-key depressed, and suddenly his son turns 10 and he's on a business trip. He's like, oh shit, he needs this book. So he gets his lawyer to go in a blizzard to go find the book to bring it to him. When he gets back from the business trip, he's like, son, did you just love The Princess Bride? Didn't it just change your life? And he's like, I like the first chapter. and then he's like, what? Like, he's like so like shocked by it. But then he opens up the book, like Amanda said earlier, finds out that the version his dad had read to him is his dad's abridged version that does not exist, and that the actual version is quite long and boring. And very historical and very historically accurate in this fictional world.
And this fictional world is also very satirical.
Yes, it's very satirical. That always popped up. I wrote that like a few times. I was like, it's so satirical. Towards the end of the intro, he writes in his little asides that it's not what it's in the book, but how we interpret it that matters. And that's like a huge theme of this book and all the metaverse of it all is that Goldman, the actual author, probably in the abridged or fictional version of him, really do believe that it's more about what you make of a book than what the book was actually trying to be.
What you do with it will be of more than passing interest to us all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I thought that was fun.
That guy should be a writer.
Maybe.
High school me was so frustrated by how long these chapters are, because that's how I like break up books, like to continue to like motivate myself.
You're like, okay, I'm gonna read 2 chapters and then I can do something, right?
Yeah. And then I'm like, this chapter's 50 pages.
But also, a couple of them are like 2 pages. You know?
Yeah.
But I also liked the chunks, like how it was like story beat.
Oh, yeah, no, it was like, it's good storytelling because it's very, again, there's a very good reason why like this story was used as an example of archetypes and plot.
Yes, definitely. All right, so chapter 1, The Bride. So it's like, it's hard for me, and like we'll probably touch this a few times. When I was reading this, especially this chapter, I had to be like, this is not the movie. This is not the movie, and not the movie, because I had to tell my brain that, because I've seen the movie so many times. And then later in the book, I for sure like get into the own different world of the book. But this first chapter, I had the hardest time with separating.
I mean, and we'll talk about it with the movie.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to separate because, William Goldman wrote the movie.
Yes. Yeah. But so we meet Buttercup. She is a young 16-year-old lass who lives on a farm. Her parents are constantly arguing with each other, which is like a reoccurring thing of married couples arguing. Like almost every married couple in this movie argues, almost.
Yeah.
But they are like arguing, and then
even his fictional wife.
Yeah.
Who doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm really sad Helen doesn't exist.
Exists in our hearts in the book and forever.
I guess. But I thought she was real.
Nope.
Anyway, yeah, no, it's a reoccurring thing. That was one of the discussion questions in the back of my version is, why do you think all the married couples, like, argue?
Yeah.
And I was like...
Because he's projecting.
Yeah.
But,
well, at the time, I was like,
yeah.
well, because he's getting a divorce.
I mean, yeah. So there's this bit in the first chapter where it talks about all the prettiest ladies, and I loved it. It was so good. It's like this beautiful, like it goes to like this lady's the prettiest woman in the world, and then it switches to someone else, and it doesn't immediately say, oh, and now Buttercup is, but eventually Buttercup's going to be pronounced the prettiest woman in the world. Mm-hmm. But it's not right away, which I really like.
And it's a really fun, like, kind of, like you were just saying, like, I'm just agreeing with you. It's a fun progression of, like, she's, like, 80th on the list. She's 50th on the list. She's dropped to the top 20.
Yeah.
And then, like, at the end of, like, the section, she's the most beautiful woman in the world.
And the whole time she does not care about it, which I love. I love Buttercup in this, well, until later she cares about it, but, like, she does not care about it until it's been pronounced, essentially. But, like, I love how
blasé.
I love how dumb she is. Her horse's name is Horse. She doesn't wash her hair because she doesn't want to be bothered with it, which is like I get it. I hate showering.
Relatable.
I hate showering. And like I just love how like little she cares about it, but she's also kind of spoiled because like she like bosses around the farm boy constantly, and she's just so dumb about it. She doesn't understand that he's like anyone can see that he's like totally head over heels for her, but it's like she doesn't care. And like the village girls like as she starts getting prettier, the village girls stop like talking to her, and she's like, oh, that's weird. And suddenly the village boys are hanging around her more, and she's like, huh,
that's annoying,
that's weird. And I was like, oh my god, she's such a like ditz though when it comes to it.
High key relatable though.
Except for she eventually does realize she loves.
I love that realization
where
she's
good.
like, why was the Duchess staring at Wes at the farm boy. There's nothing worse staring at the farm boy, except that he does have nice eyes, and I guess he has nice teeth.
Yeah, and he's really strong, and he like always does that.
He's always doing everything, but he doesn't have a single thought in his head, and I'm clearly not projecting because I don't have a single thought in my head.
I love this so much. I do like in this part too that the Count is there from the beginning. I didn't realize that from when I read it in high school. It's like the Count and the Countess, who like I love the Countess as like a side character. I wish we had more of her. Yeah, she's like. I was like,
her. You love her? She shows up for one scene.
I know. I wanted more of her. I loved her in that scene.
Maybe there's more in the full text.
Oh yeah, probably. Totally. But yeah, so the Countess also is just immediately so horny for Wesley, and is just like, look at your teeth. We need to go over there and talk. And Buttercup's like, huh, that's weird. I kind of feel jealous. I don't know why I would feel jealous.
No, she doesn't feel jealous. She's like, I feel sick.
Yeah.
Why do I feel sick?
Yeah. And then her, like we said, her admitted is that she loves him. It's just so.
She's just like, I love you.
Yeah. And then Wesley, I love it because she's like, I loved you for now an hour, and every minute that goes on, I'll look at. Like, she's not in like a poetic way, but it's like, oh, it's now been 20 hours and I love you even more. Like, and it's like just her, like, just like saying what's literally her brain computing the love. And then I really like that Wesley is like, if your love was a grain of sand, then my love is the ocean. And she goes, wait, I don't get it.
I'm glad that you said that you love how dumb Buttercup
I love how dumb she is.
Because I've always been like, is there something wrong with me that I low-key love it when female characters are dumb?
Well, like, she's dumb in a way that, like...
She's dumb in a fun way.
In a fun way that doesn't, like... It's not, like, an anti-woman way.
Yeah.
It's done really well. It's not, like... I mean, I'm not... I hope it's not misogynistic, but, like, I don't take it as that. Right?
Yeah.
And, like... I loved it. My high school teacher was convinced, and I don't know what you think about this, and maybe I just like I did not get this time around reading. She was convinced that Buttercup's supposed to be like the damsel in distress. Well, no, that people want her to be the damsel in distress, and Wesley to be the knight in shining armor. She was convinced that they were swapped, and I was like, no, they both do dumb things, but like Buttercup is still a damsel in distress. Yeah. Over and over again because she's so dumb. Like, I don't know. So I like my high school English teacher was like convinced about that. And I didn't really see it the first time I read it, but I was like, also, I barely read the book the first time I read it. And this time, as I was reading it, I was like, it's not it.
Yeah, I guess, like, in some ways, you could make the... I wouldn't call it, like, a damsel... I would say it has something to do with the damsel in distress, like, saving... role swap.
Yeah.
To me, what it comes off as is because we are mostly in Buttercup's head like 90% of the time, that Wesley being so devoted to her and so like in love with her without giving us a clearer sense of his motivations. He's almost a flatter character than Buttercup is.
Yeah.
And like that is kind of like
a flip-flop
sort of thing.
Because we don't know his backstory at all. And whereas we do know most of Buttercup's, you know.
I don't think there's anything we don't know about Buttercup's backstory.
Yeah. So I love Buttercup.
We also get a whole little thing about how her dad's a bad dairy farmer.
Yeah. But there's no one else that's making milk, so everyone's like, I guess we're going to buy from that guy.
And then, like, the cow comes up, and he's like, I've heard that you've had the best milk. And then Buttercup's like, that's weird.
Yeah.
And then, like, so, like, anyway, we're going back. So they confess their love to each other. Yes. We agreed that it's a great scene.
And then
I kind of like think Wesley's being a jerk in that moment.
Which just like he's like shuts the door first thing he does.
No, that's very reasonable.
Someone says, "Hey, I love you." I just realized I loved you, and he just goes, "Okay," and shuts the door.
Yeah, you need time to think about feelings.
That's not reasonable.
I think that's reasonable. I think he's a jerk, but he's like, if your love's and you think your love's like this big, but mine's even bigger. And it's like that's so braggy, man.
I mean, he's a man.
So then, like, so he confesses his love.
Yes, and then he's like, "BT Dubs, I'm gonna go to America to get rich for us." And
because America exists, but also like,
okay, I loved throughout the book, it's Morgenstern's asides and these little parentheses he puts these asides of like to help like us figure out what the timeline, and like this, like Florida exists before Europe is one of them, and like the Americas exist, but other things like they don't make sense. And I love it. It's like, this is like, if I was writing something, this is something I would do. It'd be like, I know this like seems like a plot hole in the time, but guess what?
It's historically accurate.
It's historically accurate. It's something I would do. Is it not something I would do?
Yeah, but I feel like he did it on purpose, and you do it by accident.
No, I would do it on purpose because I would have to go back and fix it.
See, I think it was, and so I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like you would do it because you don't want to do the time, and he just is doing it because he wants to create that shorthand of I'm going to America to seek my fortune.
Yeah, but it comes up with other things too, like stew. And I'll read about that one later.
Yeah, but stew like does actually like has existed for so long.
Okay. Well, they don't all make sense. But I just love those bits.
I also love those bits. They're very
before
funny.
he leaves, Buttercup's like, but we have to have a kiss. And then this part, and this is in the movie too, I remember it, but I love it. And then there's this whole paragraph where it's like, there has been 5 great kisses on Earth, and like they talk about the ones, and then it ends the chapter with, this one left them all behind. And I was like, oh, I love it. I love love.
Yeah, it's kind of like.
And then we get to The Groom, chapter 2. This was our first like big abridged bits. What's up?
Wait, Wesley doesn't die in the first chapter?
Does he die at the end?
No, he dies at the end of 58.
Oh, you're right.
Well, this one leaves them all behind. The first morning after Wesley's departure, Buttercup thought that she was entitled to do nothing but feel sorry for herself. Then she won't, and then she like really starts taking care of herself.
Yeah, because it's not until after Wesley leaves that she's like, oh, I now have to present myself so that he will still want me in the future.
So she like starts taking care of herself. She starts climbing up the most beautiful woman in the world. Side note, I love the concept that someone's sitting there ranking the most beautiful woman in the world. Just like
Santa Claus on his off time.
Yeah.
It's like, who else has that data?
And then like, she like talks endlessly about Wesley and like all this other stuff. And then there's that line where it's like, and that's why Wesley's death hit her so hard. And it's like, oh, what a gut punch.
Yeah, she gets the letter that he was killed by the dread pirate Roberts. Dun, dun, dun. And she declares, but I must never love again.
Yeah.
She never did.
And in her grief and sadness, that's how she becomes the most beautiful woman in the world.
The face you had was very... I'm going to clap for your dramatics. Good job. Yes. Then we get to chapter 2, The Groom, and we start with our first big chunk of abridged bits. At least that's what I wrote down.
I like low-key, and I know that this is like par for the course, but like I low-key I've always wanted to read the unabridged version of this.
Of course, you want to read 60 pages about the Florin history.
I mean, I'm not going to be like remembering it, but I would like to like at least see it because I kind of want to like, I'm just curious.
Yeah. I love that Goldman was able to just be like, I'm going to write this book and make it pretend like it has this big history. I'm not going to put a penny of effort towards it. And I really admire that.
I think it's kind of like a fun, like, in some ways it almost feels like, not a dig, but it feels like a kind of like play off of like Lord of the Rings. Where like,
absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. About any fantasy novel, like adventure novel, it is absolutely playing at that, where there's not just any like in the intro where he talks about how there's in the second chapter it's just like, and Humperdinck's grandpa was this, and then his great grandpa was this, and then etc etc etc, like in that's the like, Bible and Lord of the Rings, like in any big like deep historical full book.
And it's like in the Lord of the Rings when you're reading it and you're just sitting there and you're being like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Mirkwood. Oh, that's just a forest. No, it has a whole history about 500 years long, and here's the names of everyone who's ever been through it.
The trees are important, Amanda. Don't fuck with the trees of Mirkwood.
Also the fox. Don't forget the fox that watched The Hobbit.
Truly. Yeah, no, he's totally like being like satirical about that kind of stuff.
Okay, I'm really glad that my non-English brain picked up on that. And by non-English, I mean I don't have an English degree. That's all.
Yeah. It's okay. Because that does me so well in life with my English degree. Yeah, so we have the first abridgment. We find out that we're skipping a bunch of history. Thank God. And then we get to meet Prince Humperdinck. And quote, Prince Humperdinck was shaped like a barrel. And I think that's a great picture. I know exactly what he looks like. He's like a stocky man. We find out about him and that he's like super into hunting. And he's like super proficient into hunting. And what I like about this book is that compared to my knowledge from the movie, but like Prince Humperdinck is like an actual bad dude. Like he's not just evil, but like he has the like, because he is like selfish or wants power or whatever it is, it's not because of his wants that he's evil, is that he has skills that are evil. And I like that. And it's not just that he has the Count Rogan next to him who is also really evil, but like he himself by himself is also just like a bad dude.
Yeah.
And I like that.
I like the whole Zoo of Death thing.
The Zoo of Death thing is so cool. It's so cool. And this is the part, the Zoo of Death is one of the few things I remember from reading it in high school. So the Zoo of Death is essentially this huge like chamber, 5 floors underground that the Prince Humperdinck has so that he can practice his hunting and hunt the like craziest animals ever because he's such a good hunter.
I also like the whole like you were just saying, but I just want to quote the book for a second. The like I had a thing earlier where I told her I wouldn't quote the book, and she said accurately, "Don't lie to me."
It's true. That did happen.
Anyway, but he never goes the day without killing something. It's
he's a messed up dude.
So even before like we know how messed up he is, just that it's such a great little like clue because you know obviously the full extent is not shown to us until
later.
Yeah,
but the Zoo of Death has 5 floors. So the first floor is animals or things that he can hunt that are speed related. The second is animals and things that are strength related. The third, they say poisoners, and accurately I asked Isaac, it'd probably be poisoners / venomous because most things are venomous and not poisonous,
it's
like
true.
people think. Fourth was things of fear, and the fifth is just empty for the next something. Like it's just ominously empty. And I just, it's just so cool. But yeah, he just can choose his prey. Sometimes he is based off the skill, and sometimes he's just based off the mood. And it's just like, what an evil, creepy dude.
And then he's like killing an orangutan, and it's like, why would you kill an orangutan?
And it's like so, like it's like low-key, like very descriptive of how he kills it. Yeah. And then he gets interrupted from killing his orangutan, saying, hey, your dad, the king, is doing worse. You're going to have to get married. He's like, damn, I have to get married. And that's Humperdinck.
That is Humperdinck.
Ay. I
love that he's like, we're about to get into the next section, which is called The Courtship. And I love that he is just like, has this whole little piece where he's like, oh yeah, my stepmother, she's evil because stepmothers are evil.
Yes, I love that. So yeah, in the courtship, we find out he has a stepmom, and it's like, oh yeah, she's villainous, and calls her ES sometimes, standing for evil stepmother, even though she's like, we don't know that she's evil.
She's actually seems very nice.
She's like sitting there trying his dad can barely talk for various reasons, and she's like sitting there, though not bickering with the only couple that doesn't bicker, but like sitting there like interpreting kind of what he's like trying to say and actually trying to be helpful.
Remind me, because I have it open, but does she like do the thing that like, you know, where she's like, oh, the king says something that'll benefit me, when the king ain't saying that?
So a few of the times it's like he says mumble, and she actually interprets it, and 1 or 2 of the times she does change it, but it's not like in the super like it benefit me, more of it just like here's what he's trying to say. Yeah, so like she's chill
because she like tries to set up a marriage between Florin and Gilder.
Yeah, with Princess Norina. Poor Norina indeed. Yeah, there's this whole scene where there's dinner and like
I love how they build up. He does this a couple times. I love the tension build up of like, at like 1:27 things were going smoothly.
Yeah.
At 1:30 it was 5:30 actually.
Yeah,
very important. At 5:30 the countries were at the brink of war. What happened?
It was 8:23 and 8:24. I just wanted to call you on your bullshit.
Oh, okay, thank you. Accuracy is very important.
It's not that important. It's fine. But yeah, he does that a few times, and I agree. The tension is good, and we're like, what could have happened that made him go to war? And apparently, like,
oh, I do love the section of like, oh, there's 11 pages of packing clothes.
Yes.
And then there's 10 pages of packing more clothes. And then there's 4 pages of unpacking clothes. And then there's 6 more pages of unpacking.
And you want to read that, Amanda?
I don't want to read that. I want to read about the history.
It's one or the other. This or all of that.
I mean, I just want to read the history. I can skim that part again.
What a nerd. But yeah, they're at this dinner, and the princess always is known for wearing these hats, and like it's famous around the world for all these crazy hats, and I forget how the hat falls off. The hat gets ripped off. I think was it wind, or is it an animal?
It's the wind, because somebody like opened up the door and it like a gust blew in.
And we find out that she's bald, and Prince Humperdinck is like, I'm not marrying a bald.
Oh, he says, "Madam, feel free to flee."
Yeah.
Which is not even just like I'm not marrying you. It's like, get the hell out of my house.
Yeah. Poor girl. But then he's like, I need a new wife. And Count Rogan's like, hey, I got you, bro. And remembers this girl he saw years ago in the cow field. And that's how Prince Humperdinck meets Princess Buttercup, or soon-to-be Princess Buttercup. And so essentially, we have this really quick scene where the princess is like, hey, you're going to marry me. And she's like, I'm your servant, but I also refuse. Like, I'm not going to say no, but I'm also going to say no. And he's like, well, refusal means death. She's like, yeah, do it then. Like, because she's still so depressed about Wesley dying that she's like, I don't care, kill me. And he's like, but I'm your prince, you got to get married to me. And she's like, yeah, but there'll be no love. Like, I can't love. And she goes, that's fine. It's marriage. And I'm like, dude is projecting again about his marriage.
And he's like, I mean, it's very, again, historically accurate in the sense of like, royal marriages, you're lucky if you like each other.
Yeah.
Once my father dies, there won't be an heir, just the king. That's me again. So when that happens, I'll marry and have children until there's a son. So marry me and become rich and powerful, or don't, and I'll just kill you. Like, again, what a stellar dude.
Stellar.
I also love how he's like, I don't care if you don't love me.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Do you?
You're gonna regret that in like 150 pages.
Yeah, so in chapter 4, the preparations. This is like the shortest chapter. It is just abridgment of stuff that happens. And I like this part because we get, so in this world, in this meta-narrative, whenever abridging Goldman talks about his dad, I love it. I love this fake relationship between the grandpa and the abridger. Like,
he's not a grandpa in this one. He's the dad.
Well, no, but he ends up being the grandpa because, like, he's a son.
Oh, yeah.
And also great grandpa. It's confusing. There's too many characters that don't really exist that are also not important to, like, the real plot.
I'm just, you know.
You're sad about Helen still?
I'm so sad about Helen.
I'll make you a t-shirt that says Justice for Helen, and then whenever you wear it, you can describe to people why you're justice for this fake character.
I just liked Helen. She sounded cool.
She had, like, 4 little bits.
The Countess needed more screen time. Maybe Helen needed more screen time.
Okay. Anyways, I really like the parts when Goldman is talking about his fictional dad, and then this part it says, and all my father used to say at this point was, what with one thing and another, 3 years passed. And he talks about how when he was a kid, he was like, okay, that's fine, but then as an adult, he realizes his dad is skipping all this boring stuff that's happening.
105 pages.
Yeah, of nothing. So, 3 years pass.
But it's also, I love the way he says it. And one thing or another. Like, very fairy tale.
Yes. It's good stuff.
I also wouldn't want to read this section of the abridged book. I really just want the history of Lauren.
Why don't you write it?
because that would require me to have significantly more investment in this fake country that I can't place a timeline on, and I can't build historical events around because it's after America but before Europe.
Mm-hmm.
That would be upsetting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's before Europe, yet there's Spaniards and Scottish people.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're not talking about the, like, how real this is, because we would be here all day getting nowhere if we were talking about how real it was. Chapter 5, the announcement. This is, like, one of the bigger chapters, I think. We are 3 years in the future, and the prince is, they're about to celebrate the 500th anniversary of the kingdom, and so there are all these crazy celebrations happening over the next few months, and they're like, okay, let's celebrate, and also let us introduce Buttercup to the people. And so they introduced her to the people, and Buttercup is like, hey, I want to go down amongst them. Like, I was a commoner before 3 years ago when he decided to make me a princess, and I was forced to go to princess finishing school. And so she goes down there.
For 72 pages that we didn't get to read. It was 72 pages of Princess First Finishing School.
Yeah, which in the future, Stephen King is very upset that he abridged that part, because he liked that part.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, he liked the history of that part, and he talks about it in the later bits.
I gotta be honest, I was finishing this book last night, and I, like, totally started skipping over the, like, conclusion, because I was like, this is stuff that's not real.
Yep. I mean, the whole book's not real.
I know, but, like, you're lying to me.
Helen's not real.
What?
Helen's not real.
Yeah. I want Helen.
I'm so sorry for your loss. Anyways, huh?
It's not that funny, but I'm gonna keep laughing about it for a minute.
You're fine. So Buttercup's going down to meet people, and I love this part. She's like, most people there would never forget this day. Very few would have hated her, and only 3 of them were planning to murder her. And we're like, what? And I love that we get this insight here. And then also, a few lines further down, there's also the man in black stood waiting. So we have the man in black shows up this early in the book, and I love that. We're like we don't know anything about them. Like, if you've seen the movie, you know. But, like, if...
And the way that it's worded makes it kind of be like, it makes it really ambiguous, too. Because it's like, oh, the man in black is one of the 3 people.
Yeah. I just love it.
There's the part I want to talk about where she's like, to Buttercup's way of thinking, there were 2 things. 1, was it wrong to marry without like? And 2, if it was it too late to do anything about it? No, and yes. I just like her very like, boop.
No thoughts, just vibes, Buttercup.
Like one word thoughts.
Yep.
You know how you're like, I don't have like a mind's eye picture? She doesn't really have thoughts.
Yeah. But she goes out on her nightly horse ride on horse, and she's miles out, and then she sees 3 strangers, and they're like, oh, we're poor circus performers. Just kidding, we're kidnapping you. No one can hear you scream. And it's the Sicilian crowd, they call it, because even then, 2's a party, and even then 3 is a crowd, they say in like this parentheses somewhere, and I really like that bit. But this is where we meet Indigo, Fezzik, and Vicini, finally. And so they kidnap her, they get her onto a boat. She gets like knocked out a couple times, and like she's listening to them, and like as she's listening to them, she can tell that the Spaniard and the Turk, or Fezzik and Inigo, are like sketched out about having to kill her in the morning, whereas Vicini is like, we gotta do it. And so they're on the boat. She ends up deciding to jump in the water.
Yep.
And instead of infested with eels, which is what it is in the movie, it's infested with sharks here.
Yes.
And Vicini's like, Buttercup, these sharks are gonna go crazy. It's a spooky scene. Like, if I drop my blood in here, like, it's gonna go crazy. And she like feels the sharks around her too. And Nico's like, he's gonna do it. This dude's crazy, girl. Like, you better like come back. Like, I'm like trying to help you as a person. And she's like still out there. And Vicini does start cutting himself to pour the blood into the water before Fezzik gets her out of there.
Well, but then it's fun too, because it's like Buttercup's like, dude, I literally don't care.
Yeah, like the whole time she's like on the edge of like, so Like, but like in the most like non-thoughtful way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, you're gonna kill me anyway. And he's like, well, I'm gonna kill you without pain. And she's like, okay, I'm not gonna scream for you.
Yeah.
And then comes my favorite part, which is they get her out, and then he's like, see, I would have gotten you. And she's like, I didn't scream, man.
Yeah.
He's like, but I would have gotten you. If you say so.
It's okay, buddy. And then we get to an abridged bit back to William's memory of his dad stopping here and being like, see, she doesn't get eaten by sharks at this time. And he's like, what? You gotta relax. You have pneumonia and all this stuff. And it's just like this cute little father-son little bit that I like a lot. But then they get towards the cliffs of insanity. And we get the whole like scene of him saying inconceivable a ton of times. Mm-hmm. A lot of this is word for word what ends up being on the
We can't talk about the movie though.
I know, but like because it's so word for word that ends up being on the screenplay, it seems not as new. I
still enjoy the like them like just basically watching this guy do the impossible
going up the cliffs. Yeah.
And then Fezzik's like, oh, he's like 20 feet behind us. He's 30 feet. He's 20 feet. He's 15.
I love Fezzik in this. Justice for Fezzik.
Justice for Fezzik, indeed. He's so sweet, and like he's the best.
Yes. Yeah, so they get up to the top of the cliffs of insanity. The man in black is suddenly behind them, like Amanda was saying, and coming up closer and closer. And they decide, okay, we're going to leave Inigo here and we'll take the princess to go try and kill her like we need to, and he'll take care of the man in black.
Well, because the other thing is they're going to like try to cut the rope to make him fall, and then like doesn't work.
Yeah, because he's too badass. Just grip strength. Just flat up. Crazy. Insane.
Yeah.
On the cliffs of insanity.
Yeah.
And then we get to the bit that I also remember from reading in high school. We get to hear Inigo's backstory.
Oh, yeah.
And Inigo's backstory is so sad. And it could be its own book.
Mm-hmm. Which is true about a lot, like 2 other backstories.
Yeah. But still.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so good.
Yeah. It's so fun. And it's like, it really brings like a lot more like heart to his revenge plot, and like learning about like how much like the sword making really meant to his dad, and how like he was really, really not in it for the money or the fame. He was just trying to make money. Yeah. He was just trying to do art.
Yeah. So Inigo's dad is like one of the most talented swords. Mm-hmm, one of the most talented swordsmiths in Spain, and essentially, like, to make it short and sweet, what happens is that Count Rogan, the 6-fingered man, shows up and is like, hey, I have 6 fingers, which makes swords difficult. And his dad, Domingo, is like, you're right, that is really tough, man. And he's like, I want you to make the sword. And he's like,
ooh,
and he's like,
got 6 fingers.
He's like, oh, this is a challenge. I will try, but like, give me a year. I don't know if it's going to be good. Don't pay for it. And he's like, I'm going to leave you with this, whatever, 100-piece gold thing, coin. And his dad just slaves over it for a year, and it's like not sleeping, and Nigo's like sitting there trying to take care of his poor dad, being like, you need to sleep, and he's like, no, and he does good, and then he has a like, and it doesn't work out, and it's just like year of it.
And even before like his dad died, and Nico's been parentified, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh, baby, poor baby.
And then a year happens, and the Count comes back and decides that he wants the sword, but it's not worth the money. And so his dad gets really upset. He's like, you're kidding. This is the best thing I've ever made. This is art. Like, I don't want your money. Take the money that you gave me back. Like, we like still have it. Like, take it back. I'll keep the sword. I'm giving it to Inigo. And so the Count's like, all right, and then kills him.
Yeah.
Right there. And then Inigo gets obviously very upset and goes to try and like W-wise goes to try and attack this dude. And instead Count Rogan, or whatever his name, gives him 2 scars on his face. It's like, don't fuck with me, dude. And then that's when Inigo's like, and I'm going to.
I love the description of the fight too, where it's
so
just
good.
like he like gets up and he charges, and then he immediately gets knocked on his butt because he's 10. It's like Goldman does such a great job of like using fairy tale tropes and like fantasy tropes, and then also subverting them when it makes when it's logical.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun. I love it.
It's really good. But that's how we find out about Inigo's backstory, and that's what sets him off for years of deciding to become a fencing wizard. That's the word they use.
Because at first it's like, oh, I'm gonna be a master, and then like he goes to the guy that his dad made swords for, and he was like, oh, dude, you're not a master.
Yeah,
you're a wizard. Inigo.
But we jump back to where the story left off, and the Man in Black finally gets to the top of the cliffs. I loved the description of this sword fight. This is where, because time-wise, I had to switch to the audiobook because I was doing so many things, and I shout out to the audiobook I found on YouTube. It was a really good guy. The guy who read it was like just a guy at home reading chapter by chapter. I think he was like probably a teacher during COVID reading it, like we all had to do. But like his accent's amazing. Like it was a great audiobook. But I loved listening to the audiobook of the sword fight between the Man in Black and Inigo. Was so good and way more interesting, even though this is a scene that I could like quote word for word from the movie, and it was hard to separate again my brain from that. It was like a good,
I mean, I can't imagine hearing that in anything other than their voices.
It was really good. I mean, he does a very similar
I was gonna say, like, ain't no way.
It's very inspired by the movie, audiobook wise, but it was good.
It's such a fun fight scene.
It is. But the Man in Black wins, knocks out Inigo, because he's a man of honor, does not kill him. And
he's like, it'd be like throwing paint at the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
Not in those words. That's just the example that came to mind.
And then he goes off to the next kind of scene. Then we find out about Fezzik and Fezzik's backstory, and poor little Fezzik.
Fezzik just wanted to, like...
He just doesn't want to be alone, and he just wants people to be happy. That's all he wants. He wants two things.
So he gets into fighting to make his parents happy.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry, Daddy. I'll try, Daddy. He always says, Daddy. And I'm like, Fezzik. Ah.
It's so sad.
It's so sad. And his parents just die of, like, old age?
No. They die of, like, a sickness.
Oh, okay.
Like, in the, like, Central Asia or something.
Yeah, they die. And then he's, like, stuck on his own. He's like, I guess I'll keep fighting. Like, poor buddy. And he just loves to rhyme. That's all he loves. He loves friends.
He loves to rhyme.
And he loves to rhyme.
He's too pure for this world.
Truly.
And then there's the thing where Vizzini is like, you gotta throw stuff at him. Just throw him before he hits. He's like, that doesn't seem fair.
Yeah.
But also, like, can we, like, touch on real fast how interesting it is that, like, both Fezzik and, like, Inigo look up to their parents so much, and their parents are, like, low-key kind of terrible.
Yeah.
It's like a good, like, I don't have enough English brain to, like, make that into a coherent thought.
I don't think... Well, Inigo's dad's not terrible, I wouldn't say. I think he's just a single dad who has 2 jobs and loves his kid. Never stops. I made too many...
Okay, I would argue, though, that he's so obsessed with, like, the sword that he doesn't actually take care of his kid.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, he's not terrible, but,
I would say, in the context of this world, that's not terrible.
He's flawed, though.
Yeah, because he's a human.
Wild.
Yeah. And then I would say, similarly...
Fezzik's parents love him, and they're trying to
They love him when they want to make money, and they find a way to make money at the cost of their son, which is not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, there's also an element of, like, hey, our son's, like, super strong, and he keeps getting picked on because, like, let's do this for him.
Yeah.
But I'm always like...
I mean,
I don't like your parents.
I mean, with the Inigo and his dad thing, it's very much like there's a lot of like father-son relationships throughout this whole book, right? Because there's William and his dad, there's William and his son, and William and his grandson.
That aren't real!
Exactly. And then there's Inigo and his dad, like who's like a very, like, their relationship is a whole plot point.
Yes.
Right? And so, it's a big theme. So, I don't know. I think that's just like a theme that goes through, or like a motif, but not really anything deeper. Because then we find out, like, when I looked it up, Goldman doesn't have a son. Maybe he was close to his dad. I don't know. He could have been. He had two girls.
Yeah.
So
see, this is why I said it like this, because I knew your English teacher brain would make something out of it. Anyway.
So we learned that Fezzik just had a sad time, but is a world-renowned fighter, and then eventually got a job with Vizzini because someone gave him instructions on what to do every day.
Because he was all alone in Greenland.
Yep. And it's like the part where it's like, there's nothing more isolating than Greenland. But they have a wrestling battle, and sadly, Fezzik gets knocked out.
I do love like how they kind of justify the Man in Black beating Fezzik, with just like you know, is used to finding people in groups. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
That's why. And then we get to the Vizzini scene.
Real fast.
Yeah.
And do they have like a similar justification for Inigo losing too, or is the Man in Black just that good?
The Man in Black's just not good.
Okay.
It's a whole thing.
I know. Well,
which is just how like Inigo like respects him, which is why Inigo even wants to like look for him to help him.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, he wouldn't look for him.
That's true, but it's also like it kind of like undercuts Inigo a little bit because he's like supposed to be this grand wizard, and then like this guy just comes in and he's better. I'm like, damn, okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the archetypes.
The archetypes.
You gotta have a Wesley.
I really wish I'd paid attention to other people's presentations. I mean, heck, I kind of wish I paid attention to my presentation.
Goodness, Amanda. So yeah, we have the scene where Vizzini sets up a little picnic. Buttercup's there, blindfolded, and the Men in Black sits down, and they're like, "Okay, let's have what does he call it? Like a wits, something about wits.
Battle of wits.
Yeah, and so there's wine. The Men in Black just presents some iocane poison, and there's this whole like bit, and it's just goes from the book straight to the screenplay. Like just straight one for one almost.
It's so interesting to me, and I understand why. Like you know, we get so much insight into like the brains of Fezzik and Inigo, and then Sicilian is still just like
we don't get anything.
It's just the dialogue.
It's because he's like a subplot bad guy.
Yeah,
because he's Inigo and Fezzini's or Inigo and Fezzik's.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to like or really care about him.
Yeah. I mean, we get a lot from him because he doesn't shut up ever. Like, he's a really smart guy that doesn't stop talking, so it makes him dumber.
Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly.
But he has the whole thing is, like, one of the classic blunders, the most famous, is never get into a women war in Asia, but only slightly less well-known is never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line.
I do, and this is like the part of me that's like, do I like romance? Should I read more romance? The part where he's like has the knife to her throat and he's like trying to sneak up on her, and then like it's like the first time we actually see him even a little bit panicked.
Yeah,
it's just you know,
this is baby romance, girly, classic romance. There's no bodices getting ripped.
What?
There's no bodices getting ripped.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, I don't want to read that. I don't want no bodices getting ripped.
Fair.
Everyone should stay fully clothed at all times.
So Vizzini dies, and then the Man in Black the Men in Black takes Buttercup, and Buttercup's like, what happened? How did that happen? But then she's also like against getting kidnapped again. Like, she's like the whole time she's like with the Sicilian crowd, she's like kind of puts up a battle, but like kind of gives up. He's like kind of like, whatever, just kill me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as soon as the Man in Black has her, she's like, the prince is gonna find us any second. You better like. Suddenly she's like very like not into getting kidnapped, and like, girlie, you've been kidnapped for a while.
But it's because she doesn't know what he wants with her.
Yes.
She knows that the Sicilian
They're
crowd wants to kill her.
Yeah.
And she's like, I mean,
fine.
She already has come to the conclusion of, maybe I should have just let him kill me instead of agreeing to this marriage thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then we finally, how's it happen? Oh yeah, they're arguing, and he's...
Oh my god, he slaps her like 3 times. That was one of the notes I took, and I was like, damn.
He slaps her. He does hit her in the movie, too.
Does he?
Mm-hmm.
I thought he only did it once.
Just once, but he hits her.
Yeah. But he does it like 3 times in a row. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Not cool, dude.
not cool.
But he's like, I can't, like, you're gonna back to your love, your prince. And she's like, I don't love him. I never, like, capable of loving such da-da-da-da-da. And then she is mad at him as they're walking, and then she pushes him down the hill, and he yells, "As you wish." And she suddenly realizes the Men in Black is Wesley. Shock. Gasp. And instead, and she does what any sane person would do. She dives down the hill after him. Just full on, like, Superman. Woo, down the hill. And I love this scene, though. They're, like, when they come back together, the reconciliation, I just love it. They're, like, back together, and it's so good.
It's very cute.
It's very cute.
But I'm also like, dude, you hit her, like, 3 times.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I don't get that part. Then we get the POV from, not actual POV, but we find out that Prince Humperdinck is on the trail and that the Armada is coming, and his whole plan of finding the princess killed on Gilder to start the war is
Technically,
not
we don't
happening.
find out it's a plan yet.
Not yet?
Not yet. He had to make himself think away the quarry. It did not matter if you were after an antelope or a bride-to-be, the procedures held. He, like, talks a big game about how there's going to be great suffering in Gilder if she dies, but we don't see
we haven't seen that.
We don't see that it's his thing.
Gotcha.
If you came into this blind, you'd be like, oh, he's trying to find her. Because also, like, full disclosure, as a child, of course.
Yeah.
The whole, like, him setting the trying to murder her thing.
Yeah.
Woof, right over the head.
Yeah.
Right over the head. It took me like the third time I saw the movie and reading the book to understand that he was trying to kill her.
Dang.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've seen the movie, so I don't know when I figured it out. Like, I watched it all the time.
Yeah. But anyway, the point is, like, you could come into this and not realize. You could think it's weird, but I do enjoy watching him track her.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's tracking them and going through each stage and being like, oh, this, the iocane powder's here. This is how this person died. And look, they walked away. And then we get back to Buttercup and Wesley, and they're about to enter the fire swamp. And this is when we get the point where Morgenstern says that his wife it's the only time that she wanted to intervene in here, and says that she wanted the scene of the reconciliation to be longer. And then it's also where then the abridged Goldman says, my wife also says so, and then puts on this big thing about all the stuff that happens, like lawyer stuff, and it's like, hey, if you want this scene, you can send a letter to this address, and then we'll send it to you. Mm-hmm. So in real life, people sent tons of letters to this place, and they just sent back, like, whatever, like, signed letter from the guy, like, LOL, it doesn't exist. Sorry. Yeah. And then
I always wondered what would happen if you sent a letter
to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then because of that, later editions, there's even an asterisk. I don't know if you read the asterisk on yours. I don't know if it's in that edition of that copy.
Yes, it says that you should go to
the princessbridebook.com.
Yes.
That website doesn't work.
What?
They took it down. I went on it earlier today.
It's not on, like, the Wayback Machine?
I mean, you could probably go on the Wayback Machine, but, like, it's not, like, up to date. You can't, like, go to it. No. They took it down because people were going to it. I'm not sure what it looks like on the Wayback Machine. It might have never worked.
We should look up. I will look up. This is my sacred mission. I'm going to look up what it looked like on the Wayback Machine.
Okay, and then you'll report back next episode.
Report back next episode.
Yeah, but
also I'll see if anyone else has talked about it on Reddit.
Okay. Love this for you. A little mission. Then we get back to cut out of the abridged this, and we get back to Buttercup and Wesley. They're going through the fire swamp. And this is like a fun chapter because they're sitting there getting to know each other. Wesley tells the whole story of how he ended up being the Dread Pirate Roberts, which I love. The like how like it's just like such a fun story. Well, they're also dealing with all the different fire swamps, so they're dealing with the fire coming out and everything.
Then there's a scene where she disappears into that snow sand,
which is way scarier in the book than it is
in the movie.
Yeah, I was freaked out. I was like, how is she gonna?
Yeah,
it was scary.
Yeah. And then the part where Wesley dives in to save her, and then the vine is too short.
Yep.
It's like, oh. And then he actually gets a little panicked.
The drama.
The drama.
The drama.
Do I like romance?
That's not romance. That's adventure.
That's why it's funny.
We get to, and then he gets attacked by an ROUS. Rotos of unusual size. Which was not as, like, scary in the book.
No, it wasn't.
The snow sand was way scarier.
Mm-hmm.
But he survives it barely, and they get out of the fire swamp just to run into Prince Humperdinck and Count Rugen. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, you've been saying Rogan the whole time, and I've been like, I should correct you.
It's
but
Rugen.
Also like,
I meant to say Rugen, but you know, my brain decides. So, like, every time I try to say Treasure Island, I say Treasure Planet. My brain just like decides this is what you're gonna say now. Buttercup and Wesley have escaped the fire swamp, but they're at the hands of Prince Humperdinck and
the Count.
And the Prince Humperdinck is like, surrender! Wesley's like, death first! And then Buttercup says, promise not to hurt him!
And she whispers it. Promise not to hurt him. She just whispers.
I know, I just wanted the drama of it. It's so dumb. I mean, not yes and no.
Also, going back to her being dumb, there's a line in the fire swamp that I always appreciate where she's like, enough about my beauty. Everyone always talks about my beauty. I got a mind. It's like, do you, babe?
She went to school.
A lot of people went to school. That doesn't make them smart. I went to school.
Don't at me.
I was adding me, actually. Because I think, like, Buttercup's fun because she has no common sense. She has no book sense either.
Yeah, she's just vapid. I love it.
But she's not shallow. She's
not shallow.
She's
just not there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But essentially, they make a deal where, supposedly,
Humperdinck's like, I'm not going to hurt him.
I won't hurt him.
I'll never hunt again if I hurt him.
As long as you marry me. And she's like, okay, fine. But, of course, she didn't think about that Count Rugen. I don't look at it. Count Rugen was not going to hurt him. And then we find...
And then I feel so bad for Wesley at that part because he's just sitting there and he sees the woman that he, like... They go into this part and he's like... the woman that he went into the fire swamp for, the woman that he climbed the cliffs of insanity for, the woman that he did all these things for walk away from him. And I'm like...
Yeah.
Oh. Do I like romance?
I think you just like good writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It.
But sadly, he gets stuck with Count Rugen, who brings him down to the Zoo of Death.
Yeah. And that's when we learned that the Count Rugen isn't just like a weirdo. He's a sadist.
Yeah, absolutely. But also a scientist. That's what he says.
Yeah, but...
No. Absolutely not. Yeah, now we're on to chapter 6, the festivities. We get another abridged bit where we find out more things to skip over, more things that are supposed to be satirical. But there's still like a lot of celebration to do because of this impending wedding and all the country's 500th anniversary. But we find out Inigo regains consciousness and remembers if the plan goes wrong, Fazzini said, go back to the beginning. Mm-hmm. And they made up a little rhyme for Fazzini to remember. Fool, back to the beginning is the rule.
You mean Fezzik?
That's not my, yes.
Instead of Fazzini?
I guess. My head, again. The combining words. And then, so Inigo goes back to the Thieves' Quarter where they met originally. And so, like, okay, that's what happens to Inigo. We're like, okay, but what happens to Fezzik? We don't know yet. Not Fezzik. Yeah, Fezzik.
Yeah, Fezzik.
So now you have a second guessing.
So, like, they have this whole little portion about Inigo.
Mm-hmm. They have a bit about Robert Browning.
And then they have a bit about Robert Browning.
Which I'm like, Get Robert Browning out of here.
They do say that Fezzik like woke up, didn't he?
Yeah, this is after that. Yeah, and then Fezzik wakes up and he's like trying to figure out what to do.
Tries to wake up
he goes to Vizini. He's like, Vizini wakes up and like he realizes that he's like, oh, I see you're dead. And then he goes and he's trying to figure out what he's supposed to do, but he can't remember the rhyme. And he like sits there and he tries to think of like other versions of it, but he can't think of it. So he just goes and like walks and just figures out something else to do.
He just goes to a cave and then he like goes to a village and they realize that he's not going to hurt them. So they all like start making fun of him.
Yeah.
And then he goes into a cave and then they said at least they weren't throwing things at him. It's like,
poor Vizini. Poor baby.
Fezzik.
Oh, I forgot. It's the Z's. It's the Z's.
It is the Z's. So Nico goes back to the thieves' quarter. He's like, "Where's Fezzik?" And I'm like, "You guys are my bro TP."
Yeah, absolutely.
Bros for life, yo.
Wild. Don't do that again. Anyways, so Wesley's woken up in a cage. There's the albino that's sitting there talking to him and being like, this is what they're gonna do, tell him the truth. And he's like, okay. Like, random dude. Like, just like heartbroken still.
And then like the guy comes in to torture him and he like puts on this big old act of, oh no, this hurts so bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we have a bit where Buttercup is getting announced again as
she like
the impending marriage, and so there's she says, let's go, let me go down again once more to be with the people.
Well, because what happens is she gets crowned queen.
She gets crowned queen. Like the marriage has
died.
The king dies, so she gets crowned queen. The marriage happens. She goes down to be with the people, and this old lady starts like yelling at her and harassing her, and yeah, it is so like creepy and scary. And then JK, she wakes up. It was a dream, but like it's like the way they write it, it's very good.
It's very good. The next dream's even creepier, and I'm glad they like.
The next two dreams are super creepy.
Yeah,
yeah. So
that
happens.
She has like a baby. It bites her at the like.
No, so I wrote it down. So she has a baby girl. The baby girl goes to drink some milk and then says, "The milk is sour. I'm dying." Then dies. And then the next day, she has another dream where she has a baby boy. Brings the baby boy to Humperdinck, who's like, "Oh, thank the Lord, excited to have an heir." And then he's like, "Let me see my baby boy." And the baby is like refusing to see Buttercup. And then when he finally does see Buttercup, she goes, "Are you going to kill me too? Like you killed Wesley, your true love?" And then dies. Like, what the fuck? Like, it goes from 0 to 100, this book. It's like, we're just having a fun little rompy time. Like, there's photos of unusual sizes. How funny. To these, like, badass dreams? Mm-hmm. What the fuck? Mm-hmm. Creepy.
Yeah. It's wild. And you're just sitting there and you're like, huh. Yeah, so she goes to Humperdinck the next day and is like, "Hey, I made a mistake. Please bring back Wesley." And then Humperdinck is like, "Yo, I will. But also, like, you don't know where he is. It could
he might have someone else now." Like,
you rejected him rather coldly.
Which is true.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean,
she was trying to save his life.
Yeah, but like,
I know she's dumb, but also it's something I would do.
Like, she's like, I mean, you know how, like, you talked about how, like, heartbreaking it is that the woman he did this and this for just walks away. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, she is trying to save him, but like, they could have done a different way. Like, she could have come back and tried to like sneak out and like reunite. Like, she could have tried to escape. She doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but also like,
but yeah, she would have not found him.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
So she's not like full on rejecting, but she's just like.
I always felt like everyone was being real harsh to her, and I'm like, yeah, what else was she supposed to do? Was she just supposed to die there?
Escape? Set him free?
How are they going to escape? They had like 6,000 people there. 600.
I don't know. That'd be a really fun time. She puts on a disguise. I'm just saying, this is like what other adventure books would do. Like, so I'm not saying that like it's bad for the story that does it. I'm just saying that like Prince Humperdinck saying you kind of rejected him is like.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so Humperdinck's like, yes, we'll send word and on ships and stuff. Like, we'll do it, sure.
Ships to the farthest corners of the world.
Yeah, and Buttercup's like, okay, good deal.
Yeah. And that's when we find out that he was like, I'm going to start a war in Gilder. And it was really smart. I'm really glad that my first plot failed because now everyone loves her even more. And it's going to be even sadder when she dies.
Yep.
And you're like,
what? And then he goes down to the 5th level of the Zoo of Death. And you meet and see that Count Rugen's down there setting up the machine. And they're starting to torture him. Not with the machine yet. But they're setting it up. And they're like, okay, we're going to ask you a question. If you tell me the truth, we won't torture you. And it's like, who sent you from Gilder to kill? And he's like, no one, because he's telling the truth, but because he's kind of dumb this way. Like, but they also know if he's lying because they know that no one sent him from Gilder. So it's like this weird thing that they just get to torture him.
Well, like, and it's part of like Count Rugen sort of explains that it's like, I wonder what's more mentally anguishing, the fact that we're torturing him or the fact that he's telling us the truth and it's still not giving us the answers.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is not science.
It is fucked up. Fucked up, for sure.
And that's where the, like, Wesley's pretending to be tortured worse than he actually is.
Yeah.
And then the whole time he's thinking about Buttercup.
But he makes his brain go away. It's like his whole thing.
Yeah, and it's like, such a good love story.
It is. Wesley on the machine. Yes. Yeah, and then there's just like a little bit of this back and forth. Prince Humperdinck is making everyone doubling the people from the castle. He decides that he needs to get rid of all the people in the thieves' quarter, which we know is where Inigo is. We haven't got back to him yet.
And he gets like this guy named Yellen involved.
Yeah, should be like his little person doing all the stuff.
And then, like, and he's getting progressively madder that, like, Buttercup keeps talking about Wesley.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not so much that he cared, but he just wanted her to acknowledge that he was superior in at least, like, one way. And it was like, it sounds like you kind of care, bro.
You care that anyone can be better. Not necessarily for love, just for attention.
I also love that Humperdinck is just so freaking petty that he's starting a war over Gilder because of
Yeah.
Bald princess. And I'm like, dude.
you want to start one before.
I mean, yeah, it's true. It's not like his only reason, but it is very fun to be like, he explicitly calls it like his revenge war.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude.
This is a bored man with power.
That's what I was trying to say earlier.
Yeah. A bored man with power. And then there's this like dumb part that is like so sad because like Buttercup is writing the letter and bless her, she can't write. And like Humperdinck literally sits down and like helps her write it, but he takes the information from her to go torture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh God.
Yeah. And so then the brute force is going and getting rid of everyone in the thieves' quarter. This is where we meet up with Inigo again, and he has fallen back to drinking, which is how Vizzini had found him originally. So he's been drinking day in and day out in the thieves' quarter. And they're trying to get him to leave, but he's not leaving because he's waiting for Fezzik or Vizzini to come back and find him. But then, of course, in the brute squad is Fezzik. So Fezzik comes and saves Inigo and essentially like shocks him into sobriety to become like a functioning person again. And it's like the bros are back in town.
The bros are back in town. I also like love the thing because when I had to go back and reread it because there's this part where it's like the noisy brute killed this guy in one punch and I was like, damn, Fezzik, oops.
Yeah.
And then I like was reading it and it was like, oh, he's not the noisy brute. Obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, but then, like, the Count does bring down the big spooky machine, too.
Yeah.
And is like, I'm going to torture you with this, and I'm going to see how it makes you feel to sit with it for a while.
Yep.
And I'm like...
And they use it on a wild dog, and the wild dog...
They hear the screams throughout the city. It's real fucked up.
Yeah. So sad.
And then the Count's like, I know you've been taking your mind away.
Yeah. And then he starts using the machine on Wesley slowly throughout this low levels, and it is affecting Wesley more than the other torture is.
And like he can't like take away his mind the way that he can because it's not just physical pain; it's like mental pain or whatever.
Mental pain or whatever.
I don't know what mental pain's like.
And then after, I think it's the letter. Is it the letter? No, it's later. Princess Buttercup is again barges in and asks Humperdinck, "What's the update on Wesley? I need information on Wesley." And he gets like fed up with her. What is that? What triggers that?
Okay, so what triggers that is she goes in and like she goes in and like he's talking to Yellen. And like as he's talking to Yellen, like he says, "Oh, my darling, we're like planning our wedding and like we got our 50th fastest ships to protect us." And she's like, 50 except 4.
Yeah.
And he like blinks and she's like, "Oh, you just lied to me. You've been lying to me. You never sent those ships. You're a coward and you only hunt things that are like weaker than you, and that's why you hunt, because it makes you feel strong when really you're this most cowardly man alive." So he like grabs her by the hair, throws her in her room, then goes down to the room and does and
push it to 20 to the highest level,
because Wesley has already had like 20 years left of his life according to Count Rugen's math.
Yeah, and Count Rugen's like, "No, that's too high," because he's like trying to do this weird sadistic measuring.
He's doing science.
Yeah. Ugh. And
he like has this little part where like I kind of love, because like I'm like, yeah, dude, it's almost like what you're doing isn't science. And he's like, there's too many variables and too many things, and it's too bad that he can't have any controls. And I'm like, fun fact, despite what I want, humans are not all the same.
Oh goodness. But Prince Humperdinck goes and essentially kills Wesley. And then Wesley makes such a huge scream that it goes back to Inigo and Fezzik, and they're like, "Wait, that is a scream of someone," like, I forget,
in absolute anguish.
Yeah.
And who else is going to be more in agony than the guy who's...
Yeah, which like it's like there's no way someone would make that connection, but they're like, "Okay, we have to go find him to help me with this revenge."
It's more logical than that's the dying scream of the man in black.
Yeah, definitely. And so they go and they're like,
sorry, I wanted to interrupt because I also love the line of Humperdinck's after he kills Wesley, and like the Count Rugen's like sitting there like, "Dude, you killed my guy."
Yeah.
And he's like, "She called me a coward." It's like such a little temper tantrum thing to do. And it's just like,
it's true.
You're such a 5-year-old, dude.
Yeah. And then I love the bit, so Inigo and Fezzik are listening to the scream, the dying scream of Wesley, and they're like, "We have to go find him." And they're like, Inigo's like losing the ability to hear it, and he's like, "Fezzik," and Fezzik yells, "Quiet!" And everyone around them stops making noise, so they're able to chase it. And they find the albino in the wheelbarrow, and they like interview him, or like they interrogate him enough until he gets information. The albino obviously likes Wesley too much and wants to give this information away because he doesn't like hide the information. But as they tell them how to get to the Zoo of Death. And I love the Zoo of Death scenes. Do I want to talk through the Zoo of Death scenes?
I don't really have anything to say about them. I think they're just really good scenes. If you haven't read this book, you should go read it. Like, that's just how it is.
So just like briefly, we can just go through briefly. So Inigo and Fezzik go through. They pass on the first floor. They pass easily. They see all the stuff in cages. Same with the second floor. They pass easily. When they get into the third floor, the door locks behind them and the lights go out. And then suddenly there's a snake trying to get around them. And Inigo comes up with an idea, is like, to get Fezzik mad enough to tear the snake, is like, "We're going to play the rhyme game, but I'm not going to finish the rhyme." And Fezzik's like, "We have to finish the rhyme!" And then essentially tears the snake in half.
Yeah.
And gets them to not be strangled to death because he wants to finish the rhyme.
And like Fezzik gets so mad at Inigo for it. He's like, "You lied to me. You shouldn't lie to me.
My parents said never to lie to anyone." And Inigo's like, "We're alive, bud."
But Fezzik like continues to be mad about it until the next level where they face the like fearful things.
Yeah, we're on the fourth level. There's bats coming out, which like there's bats and their different backstories that they talk about. And then there's this green door that we find out from the narrator is like the most venomous spider. It's behind that door.
It's like a type of recluse,
but it only like moves when it sees the door handle move of that door. But because Fezzik is so mad, he just bursts through the door.
Well, more accurate. Sorry, let me backtrack and correct you. As I do.
Yeah.
Fezzik gets over it after the bat scene, but like they're walking down this hallway and Inigo's like, something's wrong. Yeah. Something is wrong in here. Yeah. There should be stuff in here and there's not stuff in here. And because Inigo's freaked out, Fezzik gets freaked out and they're both like increasingly freaking each other out just with like, has to be something here. There has to be something here. That Fezzik literally just kicks down the door. Because he's like, my friend Inigo is going mad and if he goes mad, we're definitely screwed.
Yeah. So he kicks down the door. The spider gets down on the floor because the door handle didn't move technically. The whole door moved, and then Inigo stomps on it. Yeah, and I just love that. Just like out of the blue, I'm gonna stop with the spider. And
he's like, I mean, I think like Inigo he probably doesn't know what spider it is, but he at least is like, ooh, this is probably bad.
I think it just I took it out to like, oh, is this a spider? That's what you do if you step on spiders.
I don't step on spiders.
Oh well. I do. If they're steppable, I step on them.
I catch them when I get them outside.
I mean, that's what you should do, but I'm saying, like, the way I read it is that he didn't think of it as, like, a threat. He just, like, oh, a spider, step.
Yeah. I mean,
which I thought was fun.
That is pretty fun. Yeah. There's all this buildup, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's dead. And then they get down to the last floor, and they see dead Wesley, and they take him to Miracle Max. Miracle Max. Again, another scene that was so hard for me to be like, don't imagine Billy Crystal. I don't think I was that successful with it because it's just...
I gotta admit, every time I read a book, I just imagine it as people that I know.
I have a mind's eye.
Oh, yeah. So how does that impact like when you're trying to read the book and you're like if you're not just picturing the movie scene, how does that work?
It's hard. We get to Miracle Max.
And his wife, Valerie.
His wife, the witch, Valerie, who's not a witch. And I love this scene. It's just fun. It's just a romp. And it's so similar to the screenplay. Again.
It's just a fun scene. And I also really enjoy, like, in the book, especially, like, because Valerie's like, hey, if they can pay us $50, like, don't do it for any less than this absurd amount of money. And then they, like, pull out like 65 and he comes back and he's like, oh, they only had 20. Yeah. And it's like, she's like, take the 20 then. Because she knows that he's lying to her.
Yeah. He's just down on his luck and he's like just so insecure about his craft now that he's been fired.
Fired by Humperdinck.
But they eventually pay him to give him a miracle pill that will bring Wesley back to life for supposedly an hour. We find out later that it's actually he messed up and it's only going to be like, what, 45 minutes? 50?
40 minutes.
Yeah. Which is an issue. They leave Miracle Max's and they go towards the castle. Again, very similar to the screenplay, if you've seen it. They give Wesley the pill. It works automatically. They get him caught up on their plan. They find the Holocaust cloak and the wheelbarrow and they set Fezzik on fire while he makes very scary noises about being the Dread Pirate Roberts, and essentially it scares enough of the guards away that they're able to get into the castle and take the key from Yellen. And that is how we get to chapter 8, the last chapter.
Oh, sorry, I want to talk about one of the scenes where like I also totally spaced out the last 5 minutes.
It's fine.
Sorry.
Just talk about it and then I can move it later.
Okay. So the thing is that I wanted to talk about was the other scene with Yellen. I like Yellen, even though he doesn't do anything. Doesn't do much. Yeah. Like, where Humperdinck is like, oh, there are spies. And Yellen's like, I have spies. I have looked over everywhere. I have not heard anything. And, like, he goes and tells Humperdinck that, and Humperdinck's like, no, I'm sure of it. And he's like, all right, then I resign. And then Humperdinck's like, oh, okay, sorry, just kidding. By the way, I'm going to plan on killing my wife. And I, like, low-key, I forgot how this went for a second, and I, like, thought Yellen would, like, have an issue with that. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, he's the second most trusted person that Humperdinck has. Yeah. He don't give a shit. Plus, he's the albino's cousin. Yeah. It's a fun little detail. That's about Yellen. Nice. I'm still going to look up how long that stupid pill is. Okay. Because it's really going to bother me.
All right, so the honeymoon, the last chapter. So they've gotten into the castle. And, like, Wesley is still, like, coming to his senses, like, being able to, like, move fully and be functioning, because he was just almost dead.
Right, it's 40.
40 minutes, cool.
And then he's like sitting there and he's like, what are you?
And this is another one of the scenes where he does the timestamps, and we go back and forth with the timestamps where like there's this tension that a lot of stuff happens in this 10 minutes. Like you just like find out bit by bit because like immediately Count Rugen is right there, and Inigo chases after him immediately.
I also love, like, again, in that great subversion, like, Count Rugen sees this guy brandish his sword at him and is like, hey, fuck this shit, I'm out.
And he just runs the opposite way. It's true, it's good. Wedding is happening as they're getting into the castle, so the time is wimbly wombly, but there's, like, timestamps as we go. The wedding ends at 5:31. The time then is 5:27. And so this old archdeacon is trying to bury them, and people are the guards are going crazy because all of this is happening at the same time, and Prince Humperdinck is trying to get him faster and is yelling at him, man and wife, man and wife.
And the whole time Buttercup's like, oh, there's Wesley.
Yep, the whole time. It's Wesley, he's here. And she never says, I do, or anything. This is a lot of shouting at her, so they're technically not married. But the wedding ends at 5:31. The king and the queen escort her up to Humperdinck's room, where Buttercup is planning on... And
she's like, oh, man, he really didn't come back. He really does hate my guts.
Yeah.
Dang.
Anyway, so she's planning on unaliving herself, and she chooses the dagger, and there's like a whole little paragraph after the dagger, and I was like, I don't care about that dagger. I remember
about how like sharp and pointy, and how it was like
and how it's like thick, and I was like, well, I don't care. And she's about to do it, and then
we forgot the part of like Inigo chases after like the Count Rugen, and like Fezzik is trying to carry Wesley, who again can barely move.
Yeah,
and Inigo's like, dude, they barred the door and I'm a swordsman, I can't break stuff. So Fezzik like puts him down and like breaks down the door and then goes back to Wesley and is like, where did Wesley go?
Is that in the book?
Yes!
I don't remember that in the book.
It happens in the book.
Okay.
But like I'm not gonna, this isn't my copy and I didn't think to flag things as they were happening.
Okay. I just didn't remember that bit from the book, but I also was listening to the audiobook, so I of this part because I was doing other things.
It happened in the book. I promise.
But I just love that what stops her from doing that is that Wesley is like, there's a shame, like there's so few perfect breasts in the world. And she's like, my Wesley! And like it's all like
lovey-dovey.
Lovey-dovey. And then we get smash cut away. We have the whole, and like all these scenes are like smash cut together. It's not like in a...
Because they're all happening like pretty simultaneously.
At the same time, yeah. Then the Inigo sequence of scenes is so hard. He's like chases Count Rugen. Count Rugen manages to stab him in like really badly in his
ribs.
Isn't it near his heart?
I don't know, probably.
Pretty sure it's near his heart. It's like his shoulder / heart.
You're probably right.
But he gets stabbed really badly, and then he's like so down on himself. He's like, I failed. Like he's like, and he's on his knees. He's like, I have failed. And he has like this flashback of all his different like trainers yelling at him, like, what did we tell you about this? What do you do when you're bleeding?
And he's like, I'm sorry, Father. And Domingo Montoya is like, if you were really sorry, you'd get up and kill this guy, because otherwise you should have just let me rest in peace.
Yeah, and like all these like little flashbacks of him and his training and his dad, and like it gets him to have like the energy and the courage to get up, and like he starts attacking Count Rugen. He gives him the same scars that Count Rugen gave him, and then he's like, give me power. And he's like, of course, give me all the riches of the world. Yeah, whatever you want. And he's like, give me my father back, you son of a bitch.
Okay, the line in the book is, give me Domingo Montoya back. That's how it's different.
Remember how you said that you weren't gonna quote books at me?
Yeah, but you knew that was a lie.
I'm just saying.
I have already admitted that was a lie.
Yeah.
And when you say things that are wrong because they're in the movie and not the book, I'm gonna correct you.
Sorry.
Because we're talking about the book.
Yeah. But anyways, still, it's so good.
It is.
It's so good. And then eventually we're back with Buttercup and Wesley, and Prince Humperdinck shows up, And he's like, to the death, Wesley, to the death. And Wesley, who is like low-key
lying in bed
because he can't move and he might die again, question mark, because he doesn't know that he has enough time. He thinks he has a lot more time.
Yeah, he thinks he has like another like 15 minutes. And like the book is like, oh, he has 5 minutes, but he has no way.
He doesn't know about it, yeah. And so he's like, to the pain. And Count Humperdinck's like, huh? Pain? Weird. And essentially just talks Prince Humperdinck into chilling, sitting down so that Buttercup can tie him up, and which is so dumb.
And he uses up all the rest of his time to like, but it like gets to the core of it, which is Humperdinck is a coward who cares too much about what other people think.
Absolutely.
He's like more horrified by the prospect of like, he like even says like, I know you're bluffing, but he can't take that risk because he's like, I can't stand it. He can't stand the idea of having a bald wife who would never go out in public with her bald head.
Yep.
He could barely stand the idea of marrying a milkmaid until he saw that it was the most beautiful woman in the world.
Yeah.
He's a shithead.
He is. But essentially he gets tied up and then...
And then Wesley says my favorite line from him, which is, you are the property of the dread pirate Roberts.
Interesting.
I don't like Wesley sometimes. I really like him, and then he does stuff like that.
He's a little
dumb.
Like, he's a man.
Don't like that.
Yeah, so Inigo ends up coming back up to the room, and they're like, where's Fezzik? And then they find Fezzik out with the 4 special white horses, which are like the biggest, strongest, fastest horses, and they all get onto the horses, and this is where they ride off in the happily ever after, or the alternate ending, which is a lot. So, essentially the alternate ending. So when he was a kid, Goldman's dad's like, and they ran off into the ending happily ever after. But really what happens is that, Inigo's wound reopens. Wesley
passes out again.
Fezzik takes a wrong turn, and Buttercup's horse throws a shoe, all while Humperdinck and his army is chasing after them. Yeah. And like we don't know necessarily what happens after that. Like we just know that later it ends in they're in trouble.
Yeah. ... Also, one more thing about like the Wesley thing. The thing that's also fun about that timeline is the timeline hits, and he's still standing for like a good 2-3 minutes afterwards. It's only after they get back on the horses that and then the end. So we have like the real ending versus the like happily ever after ending, and the last little line in the abridgment says that the author, that Goldman says, I also have to say for the umpteenth time that life isn't fair. It's just fairer than death. That's all. And like that's the message he wanted to like pass along. And he talks about that throughout the book a little bit. Yeah.
And that's how it ends. And it's just so fun. I love this book.
Yeah.
It's so fun. And then there's the whole Buttercup's Baby. So I didn't read Buttercup's Baby, the actual story. I read the intro to it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you about it?
I looked at the Wikipedia. Or not the Wikipedia. I looked at the summary. I looked at the
So, like, here's
notes.
the thing. In the version that my family has at my house, because, again, full disclosure, this is my mom's, like, favorite book. Like, top tier. In the version that we have at my house, it's just there's just that first section where it's Fezzik jumps off the cliff with the baby. And that's where it ends.
That's where it ends?
Yeah.
This has way more.
This has significantly more. And I was like, oh, shoot. We actually, like, get to see what happens after the story ended. And I don't actually know how I feel about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I listened to... Because I listened to the audiobook of someone reading the intro to Buttercup's Baby, which is essentially this fake business of fake lawyers and fake Morgenstern's estate being mad, and then Stephen King wanting to write the abridgment of Buttercup's Baby, and then William Goldman going up to Maine and being like, but I really want to do it, buddy. And Stephen King's like, okay, fine, you can do the first chapter. That's essentially what happens in the intro. Like, nothing else is done.
Yeah, I also, like, didn't really read the intro, because I was like, this is stuff that didn't happen, and they're lying to me.
And then I was like, I'm going to read the actual Buttercup's Baby, but then I ended up making dinner instead. But I read it on Spark Notes.
Yeah.
And I think it's not worth it.
No. No. It reads like fan fiction.
Yeah.
Like, honest to God, like, it reads like fan fiction in the sense of, like, it's stuff that's, like, kind of fan-pleasy.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole weird section with Inigo, like, meeting this mysterious lady.
Girl, like, from the past.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't put it together until I just said it, but it really is, like, fan fiction.
Yeah.
Like, and then there's the whole, what happens after they escape into this magical whirlpool? And then, like, they bring Wesley back to life, and then, like, they have sex, and then, like, Buttercup is pregnant, and because they're all useless men and Buttercup, she's pregnant for, like, 5 days and having contractions. Like, Buttercup almost dies, which is honestly the only part that I was into, because, like, Wesley gets all freaked out about it. Mm-hmm. And we know that's my shit.
Yeah. So I think...
Fun fan fiction.
Yeah.
And the part with Fezzik and Waverly is fun.
Yeah.
That is adorable. Mm-hmm. I love that section because there's this whole thing about how, like, he, like, always knows what's going on with her, and he, like, has a psychic connection. He's the one that actually managed to save her save her and Buttercup. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just really good. Like, that part's good. Yeah. But the Inigo stuff didn't follow it at all. Mm-hmm. The, like, getting to this secret island shit, fan fiction. Yeah. Yeah. As always, the best man, Fezzik, carried Buttercup's baby. Yeah. And then they're like, he may have died. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. But Goldman knows it too. There ain't no way he died. Yeah.
And in the intro, the very first intro, the 30th anniversary intro, in the Buttercup's baby diary, there's a potential that a giant bird comes and saves them.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a weird joke.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that happened. Yeah. Because I kind of blocked a lot of that intro out. Because I was like, this isn't real. It's fake. Anyways, like Helen!
This book as a whole, minus the, like, weird the meta narratives of the intros are unnecessary. They're fun if you're into that kind of thing. But honestly, you could skip it. You could just read the actual book and skip the rest of it and be happier. Honestly. But I like this book because I like the messiness of the abridgedness that's, like, purposely messy. Mm-hmm. I like that. I like, obviously, the adventure. It's just fun. It's just, like, classic, like, it's classic archetypes, classic plot structure, but, like, in the best way because he's still, like, surprises you.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, it's all these, like, things that you enjoy in stories, but just slightly different or subvert your expectation in all the right ways.
And the tension's so good.
And the writing's really good.
The writing's really good, and there's some lines that I'm like, this is good. This hits hard. And I also really like, so in this fake world that he creates with the meta narrative, William Goldman, the abridger, is, like, sad and down on his luck and is sad about his career and is not happy about how things are going. And then when he decides to abridge this book, he finds the joy that adults lose with this adventure. And so, like, there's this different themes going through it of, like, adults finding that childhood joy through his, like, weird meta-verse stories. Then there's I
also like, this is related but different. I like how different the writing style is in his, like, little asides and, like,
and S. Morgenstern's asides are different than the writing, which is also it's good.
So quality, man.
Yes.
Plus the maps are cool. We didn't talk about the maps.
Yeah. It's so good, and I love any book or author that's like, the meaning of a book is up to its readers. Like, once it's written, once it's out there, good luck.
Yeah.
It's very John Green.
Yeah, because, like, at the end of the day, all you can interpret from the text is what's in the text.
Yeah. What you make of it is what you make of it, and I really enjoy it. Death of the author
used right, y'all.
So I'm excited to watch the movie.
I am
for the umpteenth time.
Are we still doing the rating out of 5? Or is that not a thing you did?
Oh, yeah. Do you want to read the book? I forgot about it. Do you want to rate the book out of 5? Did you think about it?
Not extensively, but, like, as we're talking about, it's like a 4.9 for me.
Yeah, I would say it's essentially a 5-star read. Like, even the
okay,
weirdness.
So it's okay to be like, it's 5. Yeah, it's
5. We make the rules. Who cares what other people think?
But, like I don't... well, you know, and I'm still going to go with a 4.9, because Wesley annoys me sometimes.
Okay. That's fair. He's a man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to rewatch the movie. Anything, last words, Amanda?
Don't hate your wife.
I mean, that's very serious, and I agree, but you can't say that jokingly. No, you didn't mean it jokingly, but it sounded jokingly.
Well, I mean it. It's why I don't like Wesley sometimes. He hits his wife. He hits his lady.
Yeah. Not good.
And he calls her property. That's not cool.
It's true. Not cool, dude. Anyways.
Do you want my real last words?
Yeah.
Okay. Real last words. I really like this book. Buttercup, we stand dumb women.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Thank you guys for listening. You guys gotta do the rate the 5 stars, all that, so people will find the podcast besides my friends and my family. But also thank you, friends and family, for listening. Thank you for letting me force you to listen to stuff. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Read the Book First Podcast. That's where all the updates are for what we're reading next. And if you want to DM me on why I am correct or I am wrong, that's what you can do. But you have to follow me.
More importantly, correct me.
Sure.
Because I read the Instagram.
Yeah, sure. Anyways, thanks for listening, and don't forget to read the book first.